So guys, thanks for joining us today for the webinar. I am Bhavna, Marketing Manager at Gigzoe. So I'm sure most of you must be aware about Gigzoe, but for those who don't know, let me tell you who we are and what we do. Vartika, am I not audible? Hello?
You are audible.
Yeah, you are properly
Okay.
audible.
Guys, please use the chat box. We will have this question answer round later. So please mute yourself. So Gigzoe is India's leading managed e-commerce marketplace to book digital business services with verified and vetted freelancers, agency and service providers. So our mission is to become India's most trusted and go-to marketplace for business services and to take India's top service talent and professionals to the world. We have investors like Kapil Dev and some other famous personalities as well for Gigzoe. Vatika, change. We are just 18 months old as of now, but we have generated over 2 crores in value for our verified seller partners. This means seller partners from Gigzoe has earned almost 2 crores in total. And our average seller partners earnings are 60K a month, and there are seller partners who have earned more than 8 lakhs within the first 5 months of them joining Gigzoe. So seller partners are the freelancers who join Gigzoe. Also, we have a very close-knit community of 5,000 businesses and service professionals on our website. You can visit that. And by next 12 months, we are expecting a huge traffic of 1 lakh SMBs on our website a month. So this is Gigzoe for you. But today we are here to talk about a much important topic for every freelancer, and that is how to effectively communicate with your clients. Next. And to talk about it, we have with us Miss Shruti Agarwal. Shruti is a psychology graduate, and currently she is working as a content writing and copywriting freelancer and has been freelancing over a year now. She has worked with few psychologists with social media consultation, personal branding, social media copies, and have almost worked with 20 clients till now. And you can find her on social media, on Twitter Spaces, sharing her knowledge, her experiences, and you will be enjoying it. So let's welcome Shruti.
Hi Bhavna, thank you for the warm welcome. Hello everyone, I'm Shruti. More on what Bhavna said, like she said, I graduated in BA triple majors, one of the subject being psychology. I graduated last year and I've taken up freelancing, copywriting and content writing after that. And I must say psychology as a subject that I did back in college definitely helps, mostly because of the consumer psychology and knowing which words to use when communicating with your prospects and clients. Um, and today we are going to talk about difference between lead, prospect, and client, how to communicate with each one of them without having to put yourself in a shoe where you're not comfortable, for you to charge what you think you deserve. That's about me. Bhavna will now share the screen and I will take you through the entire process step by step. If you have any questions, drop that in the chat box. We will take the questions up in the end of the meeting. Also, guys, get ready with your keypad. I might have to ask you to drop the answers to my question, and you might want to do it as quickly as possible because we are on our time and you would probably want to have dinner on time. All right. So we'll start off with the session. And before I tell you the difference between a lead, a prospect, and a client, I would want you, each one of them, to describe what you think a lead and a prospect, the difference is. Drop down in the chat box, let me read it and give a shout out to the person who gets it right. Let's start it. Okay, Himanshu says, prospect is someone who is a future potential client. The question is the difference between prospect, client, and a lead. A lead is someone who approaches or whom we approach for a project. That Priyanshi says that. Priyanka says lead is interested. Okay. Someone got it exactly right. Lead is equals to revenue. Shout out to Gaurav Rana to get it right. Lead is someone to whom you can qualify and sell your product or your service. To simplify, working with a client would happen in 3 stages. First is a prospect. Prospect is someone, it could be either inbound or inbound. Prospect is someone you can reach out to saying, hi, my name is Gaurav. I do these things. This is how I can help you. And if the person reverts and says, I am interested, you tell them that this is my minimum fees or this is what I charge. What's your budget? If their budget matches your quotation for the project, then that person is who the lead is. Client is someone who once, the moment they pay your invoice, the moment the money is transferred to your account, then they become your client. Client is someone who pay for your services and you work for them. Are we clear on that? There's a lot of misunderstanding that prospect and lead is same, or prospect will definitely turn into a client. It does not happen that way. There might be people who come in saying, I am interested in working with you, I'm interested in taking up the project with you, but they don't match your budget quotation. That is not the market we are targeting. That is definitely not the person who's going to convert into a client or an agency or a company body as such. Moving, next slide, please. Moving forward, like I mentioned, prospects is also the potential people or business you can help with your service. They can come in, they can come to you and say, hi, we need your service, or you can reach out to them and say, hey, I provide these services and this is why I think you can use it. And like I previously said, client is people or business that pay you in exchange of your services. Next slide, please. Again, this slide is something that has this quote that it's all in my head. And if you don't like the story, you need to change it. The reason I'm saying this, there are times when a prospect reaches out to you and makes you feel that what you are charging is way too much. And they put it in your head that this is not what the market price is. Somebody else is doing it for a lesser price. At the same time, they want the same quality, but they also make you feel that, oh no, this is too much. And that's when I would say it is all in your head. You need to decide what you keep with you and what you want to let go of. It's your story. You need to change it. You need to narrate it. If there is the when I say story, what I mean is the people we reach out to or the people we pitch our services to, the communication that happens with them is a story in itself, because that's how you define your freelancing journey. That I reached out to this person, I said this, he said this, and then we got on board and did this project and it successfully ended with a testimonial. That's a story you want to present. That's a story you would want in your freelancing career.
Guys, please mute yourself. Ratika, can you please mute everyone? Shruti, please continue.
Talking about, there are, when it comes to pitching, when it comes to communicating with either the prospect or the lead or client, there will be times where you don't know what you're doing and it will lead to failure. it will lead to frustration. Now, again, by failure, I don't mean not closing the client, not getting the money, but failure, I mean, there are times when it takes a toll. It has happened with me in the past. It takes a toll on me. I spend 2 hours explaining them what my service does. How are we going to work on it? Why is my the rate that I quoted? But it does not work out. It leads to failure. It leads to frustration. It leads to me thinking about I'm not good enough. But no, we need to change the narrative of the story. We need to see it as honing our skills. If you only read or attend webinars like this, you will not get an understanding of how to talk to a client. We can only show you, I can only share my experience with you, but it's on you to take the action. Success is built on failure and frustration. You get on a call with them, you fail, you learn from that. You are also frustrated, but again, you learn from that, you implement that in your next call, and you close that client. That's what success is going to look like. It is built on failure and frustration. Next slide, please. Right. So, two words that I've been using since the start of this webinar is inbound and outbound, because I'll be using it further. So, let's clear what inbound and outbound essentially means. Now, a prospect can come in two ways. A prospect is someone, drop your message saying who the prospect is. I'm waiting. Who is a prospect? Who is defined as a prospect? Again, a prospect is defined as someone who is interested in your services but has not qualified according to your payment rates. That is a prospect. And prospect can come in two ways. One is inbound, another is outbound. Inbound is when they approach you asking, hey, I need this and I need you to help me with this. Outbound is when you reach out to them either through message or through call or email, or basically you reach out to them and you tell them that this is how I'm going to help you. Now, with inbound, one thing that you would want to keep in mind is it's an inbound for a reason. They know you, they heard about you from somewhere, or they came across your profile and they liked it and they felt okay. So this person provides this service and I think I need this, and there's going to be a match. But when you speak with an inbound client, or inbound prospect, you do not assume things. If they are saying, I need this service, you cross check with them. So, for an example, if someone reaches out to me and says, hi, Shruti, I need to post on my LinkedIn profile, and you are a content writer, I see from your profile, would you be able to help me? Now, the first time what I did wrong is I simply assumed that they want to work on their personal branding. And I said, cool. And I started talking about personal branding. It was not required. I was an assumption. Now what I do is I ask them, what's the purpose of writing this content? What do you have in mind? When they say it to me and I think, okay, so this does not make sense to me. Why would they want to post just because everybody else is doing it? That's when I explain what you do. That is when you explain what you do. That is when I explain what I do and why I do it. That is when I explain them, this is what personal branding is, and this is what it's going to help you. And this is how it's going to take you from here to here just with content. That's how you never assume and you communicate openly. Second is outbound. When we pitch, we definitely cannot send a long paragraph of the things we do, the scope it has, why it should benefit them, or the things that it covers. We need to be crystal clear with the cold email reach. It has to be short and crisp. And you have to definitely build a system for it. You cannot sit down and write a cold email template or cold email every single day. And as a freelancer, most of you would realize outbound is one solid ground on which you build with until the time you have a constant flow of inbound clients. So always you have to keep in mind that when it's an inbound, you are pitching as much as you are pitching when it's an outbound. But in inbound, you never assume. Are we clear on that? Send a thumbs up in the chat. Next slide, please. Okay, now comes the solid part where we are going to speak with our prospect or our leads or our clients the first time. But right now, I'm going to take you what happens when you get on a call with a prospect. First question is just reply with Y or N. Question is, do you think you should get on a call with a prospect? Drop in Y for yes and drop in N for no. Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to tell you why you should not get on a call with prospect. Two reasons. First is they are not sure of what they're looking at. They just know that, all right, I might need something like this and this person might be able to help me. But once you get on a call with the prospect and you explain them what the thing is about, they might not need your service. This way, you end up doing the basic research, the time spent on the basic research and the time you spend on explaining it to them. Instead, what you can do is in the chat or in the email, wherever they reached out to you or you reached out to them, you need to tell them that this is an outline of how I can help you. And this is an outline of why I think it will help you grow your business or do whatever you were pitching for. Then you in the chat tell them that this is my minimum quotation for this. If it suits your budget, we can get on a call. If they say yes, of course there will be times when they say yes but they don't convert. That is okay, but our primary idea is to at least match the quotation price in the chat so as to ensure that the time we are spending on a call explaining them what we do makes sense, gives a fruitful result. Now when that is done, a few questions that I have come across, and a few must have come across, is a question that I asked often when I started freelancing, and a question that I am asked on a prospect call is, if the prospect says, what if they don't agree with the set fees? If a prospect, if they do not agree with your set fees, what do you do it? You stick to it. There is a reason you quoted that amount. And please never think that, okay, मैं ये the service I'm providing it for 100 rupees, I'm going to pitch 250 because there will be room for negotiation and then I'm going to bring it down to 100. Never do that. This shows how unreliable you are with your rate and quotation, and next time moving forward you will definitely have a problem with it. So if you want room for negotiation, do it 150 and make it look like, all right, I'll give you a discount. But the idea is stick to your rates. Tell them that if they say no, I don't agree with the said fees, it does not make sense, do you even provide the service, it's just writing. And then you tell them the outcome that your content is going to bring or your freelance project is going to bring them, and you stick to your price and you tell them politely that this is my minimum quotation for this project. If it suits you, then we can get on a call. The second is how to talk on prospect call, how to talk to someone when they qualify in the chat box. You get on a call with them, you do a basic research. Since it's a first call, you wouldn't want to go all deep in, but also this is also something that you would want to assess from lead to lead. If this lead seems like they know what they're talking about and they know exactly what they want, then you will definitely have to do the exact research to match their expectations. Another is someone who qualify for the budget but are not clear on what they want. You can do a basic research on how you can help them, the competitors and such things. Get on a call with them, listen to them carefully. What are they saying? For example, um, I had this freelance project where the HR of a community wanted to build a personal brand on LinkedIn. Now, her point was not that, hey, Shruti, I want to build a personal brand. These are not the words she used. She said, Shruti, I want to reach out to as many candidates as possible on LinkedIn. How can I do it? And the idea essentially lies that you have to get seen by the people, get seen by audience. So I told them, so I told her, you need to reach out to as many candidates as possible. How can you do that? Doing that is tedious. Instead, why don't we build a system where candidates reach out to you? And so these are the words that she used, and I changed it into making her understand what are we going to exactly work on. Why this works, it speaks to them in a level that they are able to understand. At the same time, it shows them that you understand the problem and you're not using any fancy terms that they don't understand. Now, that brings us to the next question. What if I don't understand what they are talking about? What if I don't understand what they're talking about? Simple, it's very simple. You ask them, hey, you said so and so. What do we exactly mean by that? And that's when the person would explain. And if they say, oh my God, you don't know about this, then what you of course, no, please don't go and be like, hey, what do you mean by SEO? That's not a question you ask. That's something you are going to present yourself as. If you know SEO, you do. That's not something you ask your client. Instead, if they're talking about some words that you are not familiar with, that's when you ask them, I don't understand this, would you please expand on that? And they would be happy to do so. But if they don't, and if they make you feel like, oh my God, you ask a lot of questions, then I might say it might be a red flag who you probably wouldn't want to work with. Because I have generated leads in the past who I asked, who is your competitor? And he told me, Shruti, if I give you everything, if I do the research, then what are you doing? And that just set me, because if you are running a business, if you are someone, you definitely have some people in mind you follow, admire, compete with. If you can't give that to a freelancer, how do you expect her to work on it? I mean, there has to be a basic of it before she can do her own research and build on it. Now, coming to the most important question, which is, what if they don't revert even after I follow up? Now, I understand a lot of time has gone into texting them, into getting them on call, into doing the research, into coding a price for them, thinking about it. And let's just be honest, guys, here. It's not just about the time that we spend with them on call or on message. It is so much more than that. I know that we do think about it before the call, after the call. We have to prepare 30 minutes before the call, calm us down. And right after the call, we sit and assess, oh my God, did I say that? Was it right? We make notes of it. Everything takes time. But once that is done, and once you follow up and they don't revert, do you still badger them? Do you still tell them that, hey, I spent so much time on you, I deserve to be acknowledged, you have to reply to me? What do? Do you constantly follow up? Do you badger them? Why for yes and for no? All right, I see someone says yes. Okay, not someone, in fact a few people says yes. No, we don't badger them. We need to move on. We need to accept that this is not going to work out. It's like a relationship. If you tried and it did not work out for some reason, you need to move on. And there will be times when they don't revert simply because they don't think they should revert. They don't have the time to, and they don't care. They don't want the service. That's it. Move on. And how many follow-ups should you make? 2 to 3, depending on the frequency, depending on the channel. Also, please don't follow up saying, hi, ma'am, please tell me what is the result. No, we don't do that. We say, we spoke about this. When is the right time to connect with you next? Does 8 p.m. work for you? That might be one approach. So these are a few templates that I use that have worked for me. Even if it's a no from their side, they end up replying. And that's how it should be. Next slide, please. Right, we spoke about qualify your prospect, and when we say qualify your prospect, we don't mean only in the terms of budget. It is important because you need to know if this deal is right for you or not. As a freelancer, as being your own boss, I know you've heard it a lot that you have to be your own boss and all, you have the freedom to choose and all of that. But qualifying a prospect is not just about the money. It's not, definitely not about the budget matching. You also need to see the vibe. And by vibe, we mean when we communicate, there are times when the tone goes off. And definitely, there might be some people who are okay with working like that, but there are some that I'm aware of who are not. They can sense it, and it gives them so much negativity, they just can't do with it. So that's another way you qualify your prospect. Do you want to work with them? What they do in a business, does it make sense to you? Does it hold any value to you? If it does not, and if you're just working for the sake of working, if say 1 year later the same material that you made for them surfaces up, would you be feeling proud that yes, I made it for this business? Would you be able to relate with that business? Would you want the world to know that you're working on this project? So these are the few other ways you qualify your prospect. And it's not something that I started initially with. Initially, what just mattered to me was, wow, um, वो मान गए मैं जितना कोट की, amazing, I'm going to work with them. But once I started working with them, I realized this is just not working out. And slowly over time, I build up after experimenting, after experiencing, after working, is when I realized these are the set of people I definitely do not want to work with. And talking about working, we also need to keep in mind that it's not them who chooses you. It is also vice versa. You also choose to work with them. If their business value does not make sense, if their business model does not make sense, if you just don't like that model or industry, you probably wouldn't want to work with them. No, it doesn't matter if what the pay is. So you choose them as much as they choose you. Next slide, please. All right, talking about mistakes that I made on a lead, on a call, or on a message with prospects or leads. The mistake one, and that's the mistake that I've done numerous times and regretted it later numerous times, to realize that this is how it should be. Period. No negotiation, nothing after that. Mistake one is not quoting my minimum rates. Sometimes I wouldn't even know what I'm going to charge for this project. And there is just a text, and I'm excited. Oh my God, this person texted me. Okay, my charge for this blog is this per word. And the moment I hit send, and the moment I analyze what did I send, and they've seen the text, I cannot change it. I cannot be like, I realize I've sent 2 rupees per word 2 minutes back, but now I feel it's about 5 rupees per word. No, you can't do that. You can't do that. So having a rate sheet of the services you provide in one column, and the minimum rate you can work on that service in one column, and the scope of work covered in that service in one column, will help you see the time, the effort that will require you to put in that project. And moving forward, after you have this ready, moving forward, when someone approaches you, don't don't be don't be too quick on your feet to reply to them with whatever comes to mind first. Go back to this rate sheet, look at what you have to offer, what's the quote, and then tell them precisely, hi XYZ, this is my minimum rate for this service, and these are the things that I cover under it. If this matches your budget, we can get on a call and explore it further. That's how you do it. Mistake two is getting on a call without knowing what they need. And this mistake is as vague as the mistake itself. And you might be doing it and you might not realize it until later. I'll tell you how. So there are organizations who do not have the expertise of the in-house content writers to write guest blog posts for their company. So they reach out to expert fellow freelancers who can do it for them. Now, what happens in this scenario is, you definitely can go back to the person's profile or their LinkedIn profile to understand their industry and where they are at. But when they say guest blog post, what do they mean? What are the guidelines? It differs hugely. There might be a guideline where you are only supposed to send 750 words, and the guideline is basic. But for a few other guidelines, you have to match up to 1800 words. You have to link their website in your blog, at least 2 links, and these are the things. So this definitely goes without saying, increases the time of research, increases the time you take to write the guest blog post. So you cannot assume, you cannot not know the guest blog post they are talking about, and get on a call with them and start saying to them that, you know what, I have worked on a guest blog post before and here's how it works. You cannot do that. You can probably tell them of the process you write a guest blog post or how it's going to look like working with you, but you definitely not pitch them the right way, in a customized way, without knowing exactly what they want. So so definitely goes without saying, I lost this lead, but one thing that I did learn from this is, Next time, before getting on a call, I'm going to send them a list of questions. And by list, I mean 3 questions, asking them which is the website you're looking at posting your guest blog post, or just share the guideline with me, and what's the turnover time that you're expecting. Because there are times when they want it within 2 days. So we have to know whether it's doable for me or not before even we get on a call. Drop a Y if that makes sense to you, and drop a N if that does not make sense to you. Next slide, please. All right, someone says no. We will take up the question from you, Saurabh, at the end of this session. After this, after we are done talking about my mistakes and how to rectify it, what next? What next? Prospects, we reached out to prospect, we qualified them, we spoke with them, we know how to chat with them now, but what next? How do we proceed from there? Now that they all these steps are done, I want how it usually works out for me is I tell them that, hey, now that we are clear on what the requirements are, I'm going to send you a detailed invoice. On the invoice, by invoice what I mean is the advance payment that I take upfront. And once the advance is received, definitely goes without saying, once it's received, they are my clients. And it's my responsibility to ensure that they are not worried about my service. They don't panic that, oh my God, now that I've made the payment, is she going to ghost on me? That shouldn't be it. So there has to be a system, a process of onboarding the client first, of getting to work with them feeling secure working with you. I repeat, get a system, have a process. It could be, say, the basic is once you have sent the invoice to them and they've made the payment, what next? Simple things that I follow: send the invoice, get the payment, and tell them that once you make the advance payment, I'm going to send you a list of questions that you will have to answer. And as soon as I get that, I'm going to start working on the project. I'm going to start working on the project within 2 days of receiving the question template that you answer for me. Once you receive the question template, now that they know that you're going to start on it within the next 2 days, they will also want to have to kept in a loop on what you're doing. You want to have them approve your work. Then you say, you know that you're going to take 4 days to finish this project, and then you will have to get it approved. Don't wait for the third day to come and then tell them that, hey, let's get on a call. If you already know that this is how it's going to look like, then tell them that, hey, thank you for sending me the template, the answers, on this particular date at this particular time. If it's doable for you, let's get on a call. I will send you the document by then, revert with your feedback on this date. This way the client knows that, yes, I am aware of the process, I'm aware that she's working, and they're not panicking about you ghosting them. So one last time, have a system, keep them in loop. It helps more than you realize. Next slide, please. And also, it's not difficult to build a system or have a process. It's just very simple. Think about it. If you are hiring someone, what are the few things that you would want in your freelancer? How, at what steps would you like to be kept in loop on where they're headed with the project? So don't think of it like, oh my God, I have to build a system. Oh my God, I have to share with them a presentation. No, it's just a very basic that you have to lay to build trust between you and your client. And there is a detailed post that I made on it today on my LinkedIn profile. It includes a few templates, a must-have templates that any content writer should have, a freelancer or a full-time worker, but it's mostly suitable for freelancers, the post that I've made today on LinkedIn. Which slide is this? Right, so 3 tips to working with a client, to building a process. To summarize what I said, plan it a week ahead if possible. Give them the peace of mind. Let them know that you're working on it. Tip number 2, very important, create a boundary for yourself and be vocal. Let them know about your availability. You might be aware there are a few clients who want to know what you're doing it all the time. And you must have gone through or heard cases of people who have gotten a call and were told that all our freelancers work the entire day for us and they don't take extra projects. How are we going to work? So these are the people who probably are not going to respect your boundary and they might want to call you all the time or any time without scheduling the call. It's going to mess with your schedule because there are other things that you want to work on and you don't want that to happen. So in the onboarding process, you also need to tell them that, hey, these are the timings you can contact me, and you can let me know 24 hours before scheduling a call and let me know what it is about. And these are the times I'm available this week or this weekend. And tip number three, very important again, even though the client has an expectation of the turnaround time for your project, you also tell them, you confirm with them if that works for you. If it does not, you tell them that, hey, this is the time it's going to take. And of course, please don't do this that, hey, it's going to take 4 days, but on the third day, you get back to them and say, hey, it's going to take 4 days more. It will not work out. Once you say something or anything to your client, stick to it. And that's why it's important to have a process, because that helps you say things that you wouldn't want to change the next time you're speaking to them. Next slide, please. Right. Now that we are working together, the client is onboarded with us, they have made the payment, I have the project, I'm working on it. A few mistakes that I have done, and of course, regretted later. But like I said, it's built on frustration and failure. I learned from it, and I'm going to share with you what exactly happened, what I learned from it, and how I have changed my process. And even though I'm saying it to all of you, I also know that most of you, even though it sounds like, oh, Shruti is saying it, it makes sense. But when it comes to implementing, you still might not be able to do it because you are just not aware, you are just not able to figure out that it's happening with you. But once it happens with you, that's when you realize, all right, so Shruti was talking about it, and this is a scenario what she was talking about, and you're going to regret. You're going to regret that, oh my god, I heard her talking, this was happening with me and still I couldn't recognize. And that is when you would probably relate with and going to execute things. But knowing this definitely helps. Mistake one is pushing my boundaries. How I pushed my boundaries in terms of my deliverables. A story. I was working with this client where I specifically mentioned in my scope of work and in my contract that I will be writing content for their Instagram and Facebook account. Now, as you might be aware, Instagram has a different format of writing. The hashtag strategy works in a different way. I was also providing them with the hashtag strategy, in keeping in mind the previous ones they have. But the idea is the Instagram captions are kept in a different way, and the Instagram graphics has to be kept in a different way. And Facebook, the content, the formatting and editing of it has to be done in a different way, because even though the target audience is same, the age group or something differs that we need to cater to. I did that. I prepared an excellent Excel sheet with, and I also added the colors of their brand to give them the feel that yes, this is my content out there. And I was super proud about what I did. I sent it to them and they approved it. 15 days later, they approved it. It's done. I started working on their next project. 15 days later, when we got on a wrap up call, the client told me, Shruti, what will happen if we send that on WhatsApp? And I wanted to be funny. And I said, yes, definitely, they will receive your content. That's not going to happen. But definitely, that's not what they were looking for. They were looking for me to edit the content in a manner that can be shared on WhatsApp as well. You definitely cannot send the hashtags on WhatsApp. You definitely cannot send long paragraphs on WhatsApp. On WhatsApp, the editing and formatting is different. You might want to keep a few of your text in bolds, add a few emojis, and send it accordingly. And the graphics, you cannot definitely send a carousel on WhatsApp. If it's a carousel, and if you send one part of it on WhatsApp, it will not make sense. You might want to consider making it into a video, but that's something that's going to take time for you to strategize. And the client on call told me, Shruti, I'm not satisfied with the sheet that you shared with me. I was shook. I said, 15 days back, we just finalized it. This is the final sheet. What changed now? And he said, I was sharing it on WhatsApp and it does not make sense. I said, yes, because it's not formatted for WhatsApp. And As much as I wanted him to understand, he did not. He said, I want content for socials and WhatsApp is a social. I said, yes, but we explicitly mentioned in the contract we are going to do it for Instagram and Facebook. We cannot use that on WhatsApp. But it happened in a manner, it progressed in a manner that I was on a call and he said, Shruti, don't worry, I'm not going to make you rework on it. I'm not going to take much of your time. But let's stay on a call and I will share my screen and I will add or write whatever you say, edit it. Let's edit it on call. I can't. We can't edit it on call. It's going to take time. He was not ready to accept it. And he made it look like I'm the one who's at fault. I'm the one who's at fault because I didn't create it for the WhatsApp socials. He also made it look like he's saving me time by editing the content himself, even though he's paying me. And I agreed. I gave in and I said, cool, share your screen and let's do it. It took me 45 minutes and we changed four post pieces from Instagram to WhatsApp, where I gave them solution on how to present it on WhatsApp, why to present it in that way, and how to make graphics for the WhatsApp. And after I got off the call, I was naturally not able to get the testimonial from this client because he was of an opinion that I did not deliver what I was supposed to. Why? Because even though it's mentioned in the contract, I gave in to what he said. I gave in to him making me believe that he's saving me time, he is paying me, but he's doing the work. Now that I gave in, now that I accepted it, now that I worked on it with him on the call, he started believing it. And he, I think, still believes that I didn't do my work. That was it. And it took me 2 days to understand the mistake that I did. I realized this is not the way it was supposed to be going. We worked together for 2 months, and this was the best client so far, approving things at once or asking me for slight edits. And the way he would ask for edits is really cool. Not like, oh, I don't like it and all of that. But the thing is, the wrap up session did not go well. And also, we took 3 wrap up sessions to actually wrap up the session because every time we'll get on a call, he would have something to edit. So here is, I pushed my boundaries in 2 ways. First is, I couldn't really adhere to the contract that I made. That once my contract looked something like this: that I'll deliver this project on this date. Within the next 4 days, you will have to approve it, and once that's done, we're not touching that project again. But I gave into that. I also gave into increasing the duration of my client call, which I totally shouldn't have. So these are the two takeaways from me from this call. And after this event, after this happened, I realized that it's freelancing work on a basis where you always have to stick to your words. You tell them that this is what it is. I am sorry, but I cannot do it for you. But if you would still like me to do it, I will send you the invoice for this deliverable, and this is a date by which I can deliver it to you. That's how you do it. Coming to mistake number 2, worked with their client directly without them knowing about my contract. What this means is, I'm Shruti. I signed a contract with, say, A, saying these are the scope of work and this is what I'm going to charge. This is the date of deliverable. Now, A told me that, Shruti, my client is B, get on a call with him, and whatever he says, work on that. Understand, ask him questions and understand what he wants you to talk about. Aman, I'm sorry, okay, I'll try to talk slow. Okay. So I said, okay, let me speak with your client B and understand what he wants. We got on a call, and client B tells me that, hi Shruti, these are the things I wanted to write about. And he answered my questions very beautifully. That's done. But again, during the wrap up session, the client comes back and says to me, Shruti, we spoke about having 4 blogs, but you only wrote 3. And why is it? Why is there no 4th blog? I don't like the way we have progressed with the project. And I'm looking at A, and I'm expecting him to tell him that that's what my scope of work is. And I had communicated with A that this is the information that he will tell to B, but that did not happen. That was one. Another is getting on a call without A in the picture. A is not even there in the picture. I am in the assumption that B has been told about my scope of work in the contract that I have signed with A, but B is completely aloof to it. B thinks that I'm a content writer and I'm going to work on the projects he's asking me to. And the worst part is when I send the work to be approved, A and B both approves it. I was not aware that A is making changes to my content to serve to the B's service. And during the wrap up session again, A and B both were on call where B was giving me feedback. Now, why was he giving me feedback? Because he's the one I worked with. And it was only natural that he would tell me the things I did right or wrong or the process of my working. I completely failed to recognize that if I'm signing contract with A, I should have only work with A. Bringing in B in the picture without him knowing about my services and the way I delivered, it made him feel that I under delivered and did not stand up to his expectations. So that's one again. So my suggestion, the thing that I took away from this one was, if I'm signing a contract with someone and if they require me to work with somebody else, I need I don't need to assume. I need to ask them upfront what are the expectations that this person has and who do I communicate with. So I also got this understanding of how to work with a client. Before working, you need to ask them, am I working directly with you? Am I getting in touch with your client? Am I working with your team? Who is the point of contact for this particular project? Who is the point of contact for the next series of projects? Who will be approving the project? Who will be giving me the feedback? Because at times, even though you sign the contract with a person, there is a company and you might have to work with the team. So you have to figure out a way where they know what the scope of work that you have and you deliver up to the expectation and not repeat what I did. It was bad. And it took me quite a few days to understand what I did wrong. Next slide, please. Talking about red flags and saying no. Red flags, like we initially spoke about, could be um, a client saying that we can discuss the rates on call, but let's say I quoted 12,000 and he says my budget is 8,000, and then he says we can get on a call and we can see how it's going to work out, we can discuss about the rates. He gets on a call. Have you heard of the term called brain picking? I will pick your brains. What this essentially means is they will ask me questions to understand if I fit the requirement, if I know what I'm talking about. And in my experience, when someone says I'm going to pick your brain on this topic, it often means they have a lot of questions. And once they get on a call, they ask you everything possible about that project in this world. They're going to ask you, how do you do this, what's the process of working. They talk to you and they also request you that I understand 30 minutes is the call, the duration of the call, but can you please make it 45? I have a few questions that we can close the project. When that happens, they pick all the information from you. They now know better of what they're looking at, and they ghost you. They simply ghost you, no response. But even if they do respond, they say, this is not what I'm currently looking at. Thank you for your time. And I'm just sitting there thinking, thank you for my time. I did my research, I explained everything to you, and now you're going to go with someone or not go, but at least have the care to reply. But of course, I can't chase them, I need to move on. But talking about the major red flags that I've seen, first is definitely the one who asks for security deposits. Oh my God, no. You are providing your service, you are providing your time. It's you who should be given a security deposit. Because what if you start working and they midway say, we don't need it? Your time and your work goes to waste. That's when you ask for a security deposit, and that the synonym for this security deposit should be payment in advance. But if your client says that, hey, we need to get my teammate to speak to you about this project and we need you to pay a security deposit so that we know our time does not go to waste, it's a big no. It's a big no. And if they tell you this is the amount you have to give me in order to me signing the invoice or the contract for you, no. You just need to sign it. What am I paying you for? And I'm sharing this with from my experience. This has happened, and I'm just questioning myself. You need money to sign on a paper that is going to safeguard you and me? Doesn't work out that way. And one of the famous scam is the data entry projects that you get. You need to pay 2,500, work on a 3-month basis, and all of that. Definitely not working out. Um, Talking about the second red flag, making your work look smaller. So there are a few words that you might have picked up by now, being in the industry. It goes something like this: you just have to write 2 sentences. You just have to edit it for WhatsApp. You just have to tell me how to do the graphics. Oh, I will be just on call. Just come up with a few lines that we can use here. Or, oh, it's just editing. Let's stay on a call. You tell me, I'll do it. Or, especially, I had this experience with writing Google ads. The person just went like, there was an ad in the description, and the person just went like, I don't like the framing of the sentence, can we change it to blah blah blah? And I think the world stopped for me for a moment, because I literally spent some time to fit in the keyword in the description, and now this person tells me that it does not sound right. Okay. And he wants me to give him the description just on call. Okay. So these are the red flags. I mean, the sooner you recognize that these people don't understand how exactly it works, it's not going to work out. Because once you do what they say and it does not yield result, because the majority of the time, if they are asking you to do something and you don't agree with it, but you do it anyway, it's not going to bring in the same result. And when it does not, guess who will be blamed? Drop in your idea of who will be blamed in the chat box. What do you think? Who will be blamed if that content of that piece does not work out? It's you. And if someday someone asks him, hey, I saw that poorly written social media content, who wrote it? He'll be like, I don't know, I hired a freelancer and she or he didn't know what they're doing. They're not going to tell you. They're not going to tell the person that I asked for these edits. No, it's on you. So it's about your reputation. It comes down to your reputation and the work that you're providing. So don't work with clients who make it look smaller. Of course, there's a way to work around it. You can get on a call with them and try to make them understand that no, sir, we can't change the description in this manner because it has keywords and this is how it is supposed to be like. If they don't understand it, then you have to tell them that I cannot do it because it's not going to perform the same. And if they still don't understand it, you definitely know who you don't want to work with the next time. The third is pushing boundaries. Now the red flag sounds like something that I've been through and I have regretted it. And that's how I figured, oh, this is a red flag. I've heard it. I've read a lot of blog posts, videos, and scripts that these are the red flags, but I couldn't figure it out. Because remember the moment I was on call and giving them the WhatsApp edit and the graphic suggestions, I was pushing my boundary and I only realized it 2 days later. So, pushing boundaries, you have to tell them this is the time you can call me, this is the scope of work, these are the number of edits I'm going to provide with, and you have to stick to it. To not push your boundary. There are multiple ways a person can manipulate you into thinking. I mean, I'm glad if you were smarter than me, but it didn't work out for me until I was there and I was suffering. So that's about it. And saying no when required, saying no, sir, we cannot edit it in this way. No, sir, I cannot provide you these edits. You also have to give them solution. No, sir, I'm not available at 11 p.m. Can we please do it at 6 a.m.? If that does not work for you, you can drop in a message to me and you can say what you have to, or something like that. But definitely don't push your boundaries. Uh, Slide change, please. All right, so that was about qualifying prospects, getting in touch with prospects, speaking with leads, getting on a call with them, the process of working with clients, identifying the red flags, the cute mistakes that I did and I learned from it. And I'm hoping you wouldn't repeat it after listening to my sad story. Now it's the time to drop in your questions and we will take it up. Wow, we don't have any questions.
Come on, guys. If you have any questions, please drop it in the chat box. And meanwhile, I'm also sharing social media links of Shruti. You can connect with her directly. But if you have any questions related to communication with client, ask here right now.
Rishikesh is asking the difference between a prospect and a lead. A prospect is someone who can benefit from your service. A prospect is someone who you can help with your service. A lead is someone who can benefit from your service and also has the budget for paying you the amount you quote, the minimum rate that you have to quote. That's who a lead is. I hope I answered your question. Mani is asking how to satisfy the client. Satisfaction goes something like this. You need to be crystal clear, and they have to be crystal clear in knowing what they require. If someone does not even know what they require, they cannot set the expectations right. They cannot stick to you editing the content only twice or thrice. So how to satisfy them? You help them in understanding what they require. You tell them that this is what my service can do for you, and the gap between this will be bridged by the both of us. I will ask you a set of questions and you will answer it for me, and I will provide a solution for that. If a client knows what he wants and you deliver just on that, that is when the client is satisfied. But there are numerous cases, like the WhatsApp story that I shared. So in that case, even though I worked for my client, it did not work out. Why? Because I was pushing my boundary and giving in. And that created a picture that I was not able to meet his expectations. So setting the right expectations, knowing what a contract, what an invoice, and what a scope of work means is very crucial to satisfying your client. All right, I am unable to see any more questions. Somebody is going to watch. In order to find out, Rishikesh is asking, in order to find out whether a prospect can actually afford my services, we qualify them, right? Yes, we do. How do we do that? We ask the prospect what they need. We tell them that, all right, this is what I can provide. These are the things that comes under it. And this is my minimum rate for it. We can talk about what you require exactly. And I will then send you, or I can quote the exact amount that I can quote for this project, but this is my minimum. And if this works for you, we can get on a call to understand what your exact requirement is. Jaimeen is asking, some of clients want Facebook on WordPress, like they want high-tech product and old tech. I didn't get your question clearly, but the gist of it is, if they want something that is not doable, then you are the one who is an expert. You are the one who needs to tell them that, hi client, you require this. This is what is currently going on in the industry. This is how it works. Thus, what you are asking for is invalid. It cannot be done. But here's an alternate solution to what you are asking for. And here's my quotation for the same. I hope that helps. Vaishnav is asking.
Yeah. Shruti, if you scroll up, there are a few more questions.
Okay.
Priya is asking, what if something goes wrong and client asks to pay back his money? Have you faced something like this?
Thankfully, no. And the good, this will not happen if you have a contract where you explicitly mention that these are the services I'm going to provide. First, no, I mean, before we even go there, Priya, let's focus on why is client asking back for their money? Is it because you couldn't stand up to their expectations first? Or is it because you failed to approve the service that you're providing to them step by step? For example, when writing a blog post, you cannot ask them hey, what is the topic you want me to write on? And then just go about tap, 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 and you write 800 words. Does not work that way. You need to give them an outline, they approve it. You need to give them the keywords, they approve it. You write the first draft, they approve it. You tell them that along with the first draft, I'm going to add these images, these things. And in the second draft, you do it, they approve it. That's when you polish, proofread, edit, format your entire blog post and send the final draft. If you work in that way, I don't think there should be a problem. But if there is a problem working in this module, then there is a problem with the client. I mean, why the heck did he even agree to all your draft one, draft two, if this is not what he required? In this case, he cannot even dream of asking your money back. Also, to safeguard you from this, what you can have is you can jot it down in your contract saying that we work in advance first. And the second is we are going to, you explain them the process of working, that this is how we are going to work, and you approve of it step by step. Because if you approve me, there is no chance of me not being able to deliver what you're asking for. And talking about giving the money back, I'm sorry, in the contract, it's explicitly mentioned that once the service is provided, I cannot take back my time and you cannot take back your money. I cannot take back my efforts and you cannot take back your money. I hope that answers your questions.
Suresh wants to know if you provide consultation calls.
Consultation calls I do, but which consultation call are you talking about?
Okay. So Suresh, you can mention in the chat box. So Rohan has a question. What should be my first response to the client when they approach me?
Client cannot approach you. Or if a client is approaching you, then it has to be scheduled. Be specific.
Okay, so Vandana has a question. Clients don't agree to our course and we are out of work many times. Then should we lower our price?
Okay. So tell me this, Vandana. If you go to a restaurant and you see food, you see the menu, and the food, the burger is for 150 rupees, and you know you cannot afford it. Do you go to the chef or the manager sitting on the desk and tell them, hey, I cannot afford this, lower your rates? Will they do it? They won't, because they know that this is the quality we are providing and this is what goes into making a burger. This is the minimum rate and this is the amount of profit we're going to take from the customer. So if you're going to go back and say, hey, I cannot afford it, reduce it, not working that way. And the reason restaurants won't ask you, won't give in to your request is they are very sure about the quality of burger they bring to your table. They are sure about the presentation and all of it, the working of it. And you are well aware if it's a self-service or the waiter is going to be there or how is it going to work out. So if you are considering to reducing your price, you are doing something wrong. You need to assess that my client requires this, I have expertise in this, and I need to bring in this result for my client. Am I able to do it? Am I taking off the burden from my client's shoulder? Am I making it easy for him? Am I bringing in result for him? If you are doing that, I don't see why you should reduce your rates.
Okay, so Priyasha has a question. Do we have to talk about the payment when we send a cold mail?
No. With cold email, one thing that has worked for me is, I mean, it can work either way, but one thing that has worked for me is cold email is about pitching your service to people who need your service, who you think can need your service, but they need to understand why do they choose you to provide this service. So instead of talking about numbers in your cold email, there's a reason you're doing outbound, right? You want to work for them for whatever reasons. So you need to tell them why you want to work for them. It's a cold email after all. You start with an introduction and then you go on to say, here is where I see the gap or here is how I can help you. And you also probably add your testimonials or stats or portfolio relevant to their industry. And then end with a question saying, if this is something that interests you, we can get on a call. or just reply with whatever interests you. And once they do it, and once you see that, all right, this prospect wants to work with me, that's when you say, all right, I hear you. I understand that these are the services you require from me, and this is my minimum quotation for these services. If this falls under your budget, we can get on a call to understand your requirement better. That answers your question.
Jui has a question. Any advice for who is a fresher and just starting out as a content and copywriting freelancer?
There's a lot of suggestions. First is definitely know your boundaries, upskill yourself. I'm going to go with the basics. The basics are upskill yourself, follow at least 10 people who are doing great in this industry, keep up with the changes on social media. A copywriting is about writing ads. And if it's Google is going to give an update on their Google ads, you need to know how many characters there are. What are the tools you need to see for a mock-up? So keep yourself updated. Follow people, follow tools, follow blog posts, keep honing your skills. And by honing your skills does not mean take certification, add the certificates to your basket. No, work on it. Get clients, reach out to people. And this is something that you will only develop over time. You cannot wake up one day, follow 10 people, attend a webinar and say, oh my God, I'm an expert. No, you can only realize it after you do it. Next question, please.
Okay, so Vaishnav has a question. What are the things that we should mention in a contract? Any example for contract format for design services?
I haven't worked in the design industry. I don't provide that service. But the basic idea, since we are in a creative field, the basic idea could be the contracts can have how many edits you're going to give to a certain piece of design. How many, you have to also lay down how many designs you're going to work on. And I mean, it might not make sense when I talk about design specifically, but the general idea is you need to talk about the number of edits you're going to provide, and you are not going to push your boundary there. The second is once you send the project to them, how many days should it take them to revert? Because there are times when even though the project is closed, the client comes back after 30 days and says, hey, this is not working out, I need an edit. And when you say the project is closed, and then they say, yes, but you provide 2 edits and I have 1 left, it's not going to work out. So you have to, for some clients, explicitly mention it, that once the project is closed, it's closed. Please don't come back like that. And if you require any edits, you can ask within a stipulated time, say 5 days, and I'll do it for you. Another thing you can mention in the contract is the payment method. 40% upfront and the rest after we finish the project, or the rest when 50% of the project is done. You need to think about the ways that things could go wrong, and you need to safeguard yourself from it. And there is one major thing. What happens is when we are working with a retainer or working with a long-time client, or when we have a plan for 3 months to work with someone, what happens is there might come a time when the client feels that it's not working out and he might want to end the contract. That's one place, that's one aspect I think we should mention in our contract, that, hey, client, if you're working for 3 months and let's say on the 45th day, you do not want to continue with the project, this is the cancellation fees you can pay me, and we can end the project there. We can wrap up the project. Now, this will ensure that he does not have to waste his resource on something he does not believe in. And you can also safeguard yourself from the number of days it would take you to entertain more clients.
Shruti, can you see the latest questions?
Sorry?
Can you see the latest questions, or should I repeat?
Oh, okay, I can. Yes, there are 28 new messages. I didn't realize. How many, Priyanka asks, how many samples should we present to the client if he or she asks for too many free samples? Okay. 2 things. First is, when we talk about sample, it cannot be I'm working in, say, mental health industry. You cannot send me a blog on crypto and say, hey, this is my type of writing. Do you like it? If yes, then we can proceed. No. First is provide me a sample that suits my requirement and my industry. If you do not have a sample in place, I would recommend you two things. First is either do it on your own. Don't You don't have to say to the client that I don't have this currently. You can either sit down and work on it and present it to them. Mostly, when you're pitching to someone, make sure you have some samples for them in your portfolio, because what's the point of pitching them? The second is, if you really don't have anything in the portfolio and if the client seems good and you want to work with them, then you tell them that, hey, I don't have any sample as such, but if you have any custom requirement, I can do it for you, and this is my fees for the sample piece. And if they don't agree to it, then what you can do is, if you feel that, oh my God, there is a scope of working long term, then you can provide the free sample to them, keeping in mind that you are starting off. And you also have to let them know that this is not something that they can use. And I would also recommend that if you're doing something customized and for free for the client, you need to ensure that you don't write a full-fledged 800-word blog, for example. You do the first 200 words and you tell them this is a snippet, this is how it's going to look like. And you cater to their needs, you cater to their brand tone, you cater to their requirements in general. And when they ask for too many samples, you have to let them know that this is my portfolio and these are the samples I have. But if this does not cater to your need, tell me what caters to your need and I will present you with one best sample. I'm sorry, but I cannot provide you with multiple customized samples. It's going to take me some time and efforts. And if you still want me to go ahead with it, this is my quotation for the same. How many samples? Okay. Vaishnav is asking, what are the things that we have to mention in the contract? Okay, that's done. Any tips for convincing the clients? So Mani has a question, any tips for convincing the client? How can you convince the client? You can only convince the client when you show them that you have worked on something like that in the past. You show them testimonials. You show them that you know what you're talking about, and you have to speak with downright confidence. It's all in your head. If you're thinking, there might be times when you think, oh my God, I can't provide this. I am not an expert in this. Then you have to look in the mirror and tell yourself, I'm here for a reason. I am upskilling myself. I am learning, and I'm 100% sure I can do this. So you get on a call with a client with confidence and tell them, client, this is your requirement. This is my service. This is how I do it. And when you talk, people can smell bullshit from a mile. So if you don't know what you're talking about, please don't bluff. But if you do know what you're talking about, stick to your aid, be confident, show what you can bring to the table. That's how you convince a client. But if the client is still not convinced, there is a different reason altogether. Don't blame yourself. Move on, find another one to talk to. Okay, next question is, when will you have another session? Smriti, I'm not sure when I'm going to have another session on it. What do you want to hear on? Rishikesh asks us another point. If a lead can already afford the service and has the budget, we don't need to qualify them, right? If somebody has upfront told them that this is my budget, then definitely we don't have to qualify them in terms of money, but in terms of the person you're going to work with and the work environment or the work requirements, you need to qualify them then. Or do we just talk more about the service, or we have a different kind of conversation than that we have with prospects specifically? Definitely, Rishikesh, if someone has told you upfront that, usually what I've seen is, if someone is quoting you the rate in the first chat that this is my budget for this service, they have done their market research and they know exactly what they want. So when that happens, when they are aware of their budget and it also meets your quotation, how you can proceed is you can ask them two things. First is, hey client, hey lead, I'm trying to understand how I can help you. So what is your target audience, or what do you want me to exactly work on? That could be one. Another is, hey lead, let's get on a call to understand your requirement better so that I can see if this is a project I can work on. That's how you can build trust and show that you know what you're talking about. Can you please share the format of the contract for better understanding? The format of the contract would differ as per your deliverable to the client, first. Second, talking about the format of the contract, you will find numerous templates on the internet. And let me tell you, none of them would work for you. So you need to open 4 contract templates, mix and match, and customize, personalize it for yourself to safeguard your services and you. Any contract templates for freelance writer? Same thing, Priya. Smriti, I see your message on Twitter after this call. Shruti is asking how to define scope of work. Scope of work is mandatory to tell them. Okay. Okay. Okay, let's look at it from this perspective. You go to a restaurant and you order a full-fledged thali of food. If they don't tell you, they're charging you $12.50 for that thali. And it just says Rajasthani thali. Okay, I have a fair understanding of what Rajasthani food is, but I'm not aware of the quantity and the number of items that will be given to me in Rajasthani thali. If I'm going to invest 1,200 rupees on a thali, don't you think I should know the things I should expect in my thali? So it works in a similar way. If you're going to tell your lead or a prospect that this is a blog post that I'm going to work on, you might as well tell them that for this amount, for this blog post topic, I can cover, for example, meta title, meta description, the keyword research, SEO optimized. I can get the graphics done. I can link. So these are the few things, and you can change your rates accordingly. For example, SEO optimized blog post where you have to do the keyword research would naturally be more would cost more than the ones where you don't have to optimize your blog for the SEO. So yes, answering your question, scope of work is mandatory to tell them. It sets the right expectation from the start.
Guys, just a second, Shruti. Guys, I am sharing a feedback form. Please fill it before leaving the call. We need to know if you like the session, if you want any other improvement, and what other topics you want us to conduct session on. Please continue. Shruti, let it be the last question, so we can end now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure.
I don't see any more questions. How to interact with the client? More like this. How much long should be the first meeting call? Rishikesh asked a very good question, which is how long should a call be? You need to ensure that the call is set for 30 minutes. In general, that's how it is, because in 30 minutes, you can do 3 things. First is build a report with them, ask them how they've been. It takes about 2 minutes. Ask them their requirement. It takes about 5 minutes. You can tell them how you can cater to their needs. It takes about 5 minutes. And then for the next few minutes, you can explain them your budget, the process of working, and how it's going to look like working with you, and why this service is going to add value to them. So 30 minutes have been an ideal time to be able to communicate. But if you increase that time, what happens is you end up sharing more information without knowing if they're going to pay you or getting on board with your services. So that wouldn't make sense. So 30 minutes is an ideal time for you to share what you know and for them to share what they're expecting from you. I hope that answered your question, Rishikesh. So that was all about the question session.
Okay, guys.
Bhavna will share with you in the chat my LinkedIn profile and my Twitter profile. On my LinkedIn profile, you will see a lot of content that I post there is catered to new freelancers and talks about the mistakes that I've done in my freelancing career. So you might be able to pick up a lot of things from there. On Twitter, I have pinned a tweet that covers all my tweets on copywriting, talking to client when pitching for copywriting services, and every resource that you will need for copywriting that has helped me in the past. So you might want to check that as well. And on Twitter, I will be soon sharing a few templates that have worked for me in cold emailing and the questions that I ask my client and a few contract templates. So you might want to keep a check there. Thank you so much for joining this session, guys.
Thank you, Shruti. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for the great session. I'm sure everyone would have learned something from the session. Even I have noted down few points. So thank you so much, Shruti. Guys, please give a thumbs up if you like the session. Come on, show some enthusiasm. And of course, please do fill the feedback form. It's important for us.
Yeah. And after you're done filling up the form, and if you have any questions, feel free to text me on either of the platforms, LinkedIn or Twitter, and I would be happy to respond to that. Thank you so much, Bhavna, for having me today.
Thank you so much, Shruti. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. So guys, if you have question apart for anything related to Gigzoe, you can ask it right now. You can also join our community on Gigzoe and ask any number of questions from expert freelancers, and they will be answering you. You can also connect with us on social media. If you want to be updated about future sessions, so please do follow us on Instagram, follow us on LinkedIn, so you are always updated about sessions, because we are going to do these upskilling webinar every month. Money, you can connect with you how to get traffic on my gigs. Okay, so you can promote your gigs on your social media pages. You need to update it properly. Make sure that every part of your profile is updated. We have started a different type of algorithm on a website, where people who have less gigs will be their gigs will be shown on our website on front page.
Okay, so Mani, it would be great if you could send me your profile and I can check if that need any kind of मतलब उसमें कुछ ठीक करना होगा तो I can help you with. Just help me with your profile once, okay? You can send me your email ID.
And do follow us on Instagram, because there are many such sessions coming, and all of them are going to be for free. And please do make sure before leaving the call that you have filled the feedback form. Thank you, guys. Thank you for joining us today and sticking with us till the end.